Hello everyone and welcome to my first ever video. Today I'll be painting a member of the new Deathwatch kill team. I've mainly chosen the Deathwatch because I find their lore very interesting and wanted to paint some to have in the collection. So without further ado, let's get to painting. I start off by priming the model black and then applying a dark gray dry brush to the model. This is done so that we create a gradient from dark to light to recreate light shining on the model and makes the speed paint I'll apply later have more contrast as opposed to the bare primer. With the dark gray applied, I will then go in and apply a lighter gray to the model in the same way I did with the dark gray to further build up that gradient we are working towards. Afterwards comes a off-white dry brushing in which I used Brain Matter Beige from the Army Painter since it has a lower hue than normal pure white, which will help build up a subtle gradient from off-white to white, and I also really like using the paint. I also try to watch out to be lighter as I want the light gray from before to show in some of the lower areas. I also make sure to give his head plenty of attention as it is a focal point to the model and will pop nicely when we add the contrast paint to it. And finally, we add a pure white dry brushing to the highest areas of the model to make it seem like the sun is shining on the highest parts. After I'm happy with the dry brushing, I will base coat the left arm, left shoulder pad, and any other silver details with a light gray color. This is purely because I have a different way of which I do metallics on my models, so if you have a different way of doing your metallics, then that is totally fine as well. Basically, what I do is I dry brush a metallic over a base coat to make a less glittery metal as opposed to what you would get with a normal metallic paint. The next step is what's going to tie the whole metallic part of the metal together. I will use a silver paint to dry brush some metallic flakes onto the raised areas of the silver detail so that it looks like an actual metallic. Next, I'll add a watered down blue speed paint as a shade to give it that blue tint. Now when applying washes or speed paints, do make sure that the layer underneath is dry. As you can see, I ended up wiping off some of my previously applied layers and revealing the black underneath. Not to worry, you can always touch up any mistakes you previously made with just the same paint you used as before. I use a blue here as in the Games Workshop paint scheme, there is a blue tint to the silver which I really want to replicate as I like the difference in color. And now comes the fun part, covering all of the white that we just painted in a black speed paint and watching our marine come to life. I also make sure to pick out the trim on the shield to make sure that that silver inside of that shield really pops. After applying the black speed paint, I head over to the chapter symbol on my marine. He is from the Iron Snakes chapter, a second founding successor chapter of the Ultramarines, and I chose this chapter as I really like the mix of colors on their heraldry, and in the lore they have to kill a giant serpent on their homeworld as a rite of passage, which I find very awesome. I start off by applying a white to the shoulder pad. Now, applying white to black is very hard and it will not cover much. So you'll have to apply multiple coats of white in order to get a full coverage that doesn't show the black underneath. So about 2 to 3 thin coats should do the trick. Whilst the paint dries, I pick out the head, weapon handle, and grenades on his chest to save up on time and get that step out of the way as well. And with the white now dry, we can start painting the actual symbol of the Iron Snakes, in which I use sky blue and try my best to only color on the sculpted symbol. But if I do make any mistake, it can just be cleaned up later with some white. I use a crimson red for the shoulder pad trim and mix a little bit of white into the red as well to make a highlight color, which will be applied to the top of the shoulder pad trim to make the red pop a bit more. After all of that, our marine is finished, and I'm ready to apply some varnish to the model and glue him down to his base. With that comes the final part, of which we will start basing the model. For a basing scheme, I went with an alien field with some flowers, which is ironic considering the reason he's on the planet. Since this is the end of the video, I would like to thank you for sticking around for this long. I plan to release a video every week where I either paint models or upload battle reports, and I would really appreciate if you subscribed and hit that bell icon. With that, our model is finished, and I hope I taught you a thing or two, or even gave you some inspiration. And remember, that great plastic isn't painting itself. See you all in the next one. Bye!